is more than something we do at the beginning and the end of our days. It's an attitude that we should carry with us throughout our days. Over the past 2 weeks, I've been experimenting with breath prayers, which is a way of reminding ourselves of God throughout our days as we're doing a million different things that college involves. Some people will choose a worship song to recite over and over again in their heads or throughout their day, and other people will choose a passage of scripture that they find comforting and restful. I chose to take a look at Psalm 23 and use that as my starting point for breath prayers. Over the past 2 weeks, I've experimented with the passage, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters." That passage is incredibly restful to me, and it reminds me that I can take rest in God's presence, that He's already done the work for me on the cross, and that He is going to sustain me. And so, as I've experimented with breath prayers, a couple methods that I've tried have been involving rhythmic breaths. And so, what I'll end up doing throughout my day is taking a deep breath, "The Lord is my shepherd," and then exhaling, "I shall not want." Inhale, "He makes me lie down in green pastures." Exhale, "He leads me beside quiet waters." I have a ton of things going on every single day, and what that does is it forces me to slow down and look back towards God. Sometimes it's really easy to forget about that, and that's actually been really hard for me. It's really easy for me to get stressed out and anxious and lose sight of that. But as I've continued to work in establishing that rhythm, I've found it's gotten easier over time as I've continued to make that a regular thing that I do. Breath prayers remind us that God is around us and with us all the time. And it reminds us as we're going off into our days and doing so many different things, who our work is honoring and who we are glorifying with our lives.
Prayer is really hard. It's really good, but it's really hard. We get caught up in the mess, we get caught up in the busyness, and with life and with school and relationships, and we just sometimes can't find the time. I know I've experienced that personally. I've tried to set the alarms and set the reminders, but sometimes I don't want to just bow my head and pray. And so what I found really helpful, and like Dr. Heflin said, a really good tool in our garage of spiritual disciplines is this idea of breath prayer. And as I was practicing it this week, what I noticed was it helped me reorient myself, not just to Christ and to our mission, but just to life and being kind in my relationships with other people. And so it felt natural as I breathed in and I breathed out. It worked with me as I walked or as I was in line for Starbucks or in traffic and I was getting mad at the cars. I was able to breathe in and breathe out. And what I did personally was breathe in on "Your kingdom come," and then "Your will be done." And I felt myself feel closer to God and closer to my mission as building the kingdom as I ever have. And while sometimes we get still caught up in the stress and still caught up in the busyness, it really did help me reorient myself. And a mentor of mine once told me that the mind is like an unruly child. And so when you're spending time in silence and solitude, if you just take everything away and all your distractions away, the child of your mind can throw a fit. And so it's helpful to say, okay, I'll give you a toy, but I get to pick it. And so what I picked was breath prayer this week. And so even as I tried to mix those disciplines, it helped me a lot to stay focused and stay connected to God.